Good morning and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It is the morning of August 16th, 2017, and as you can probably see from the background, I have returned to California for a second bite at this project layout. Although some other guys had been working on it after I left, it doesn't look vastly different from when I was last here. There are a few more sections that have been installed. Anyway, let me get the camera turned around. I'll give you a quick overview and then show you what my next project is. If I just pan the camera around the room, you can see that in a lot of areas very little has changed. The middle of the room, this whole new peninsula has been installed, and there's also been a fair bit of track worked on, some wiring, and some testing has also taken place. As you can see, there are some trains on the layout. And of course, to be fair, that sort of work really doesn't show up much. There's a lot of buildings temporarily positioned here just to give an idea of what this town might look like. Scenery wise, there's nothing new, and basically that is my job. First thing I have to do is get these bridges installed, and then I have about a 16-foot run of scenery that I can work on. So that's a decent sized project for the first couple of days. Well, here I am arriving for work on day 2. It is approximately 7:15. The other guys won't be here for a couple of hours yet. Yesterday I managed to get all the piers for these 2 bridges done. I got the back bridge installed. It's not permanently glued in place yet, it's just there with the track over it for testing. On the bottom bridge I had to cut off the towers because they were too low. We decided not to leave that cut out with a marshy area. We just got to build it up, make it more of a dry canyon. So I also built some footings to put under here. They're on the other workbench. I painted them last night. So I've got to get the landscape built up to the right height now and get some track across the top, and then I can test this loop as well. So anyway, that is my top priority for this morning. Before I get to work, let me show you what I'm working on over here. They were a little concerned that there was too much flat scenery here, just flat rock walls. So I redesigned this area to allow for a rock outcrop. This is now going to be looking a little bit different, and the owner really likes my ideas, so he gave me a free pass to basically do whatever I want to over here. So that's what we're going to do. It'll probably take me a couple of days before it starts to take shape, so I'll check in with you again when I have something to show. So I will sign off until then. Well, after 2 days I am not making anywhere near as much progress as I had hoped. I've spent hardly any time in this area at all because they keep having me go on to different projects and work on other bridges. Spent a while working in this area, and then this front bridge was completely redesigned after I'd already spent a couple of hours on it. So that was wasted time. And if I take you around the other side of the layout, this area had to be redesigned as well because the bridge they had in here was too low to allow cars to go through. This bridge is really low. And there's this corner here. The guy just loves bridges. I don't know how this is going to look decent. The way to make it look reasonable is to leave the bridges out altogether. There's way too many on this layout, especially in this corner. Well, it's Saturday morning now. Most of yesterday was spent assembling a steel trestle kit from Micro Engineering. Here's all the components, not yet glued together. Just a rough idea of where they're going. I'm also working on some bridge abutments for here. started off by cutting a retaining wall casting in half, miter in the corner. I still got to fill in this area here, but I had to leave it overnight because the glue that I'm using for the foam is really slow setting up. Assuming these abutments are successful, I'll do something similar for this bridge in front. He wants me to get all the bridges at least temporarily installed so that we can test the track and run a train around the circuit. Anyway, let me head over the other side of the room and I'll show you what else I worked on yesterday. I spent a little bit of time in this area getting the rough landforms in. I've still got to carve them. The foam blocks just are stacked in an approximate shape. I will get the multi-tool out, carve them to a better shape, put the plaster cloth on, and hopefully he'll give me some time to start working on scenery soon. Well, I'm back again Sunday morning. If you look down here, you may notice a few slight differences because some of the bridges were in the wrong places. Well, this bridge here it had a really short bridge here and it was in completely the wrong place. So I completely redone that one. I've put abutments in here. I've finished these abutments for the rear bridge and installed that one. I had to cut out the ties from the Walters bridge track to get it to fit because the cross bearers were above the stringers. If you look on this one, it's the same as well. So I had to do that. And if I pan around quickly, those two red bridges in the distance, I had to do the same with those as well. I was all ready to start working on these trestles here. This trestle is getting replaced because it's a piece of crap. But unfortunately I can't build these until the backdrop's in place because I don't have the option of building that removable. It's on a grade, it's on a curve, and the curve isn't regular. And I don't have enough height to be able to build it on a base either. So I've got to build it in situ. And obviously I want to get that complete before I assemble the trestle in front of it. Over the other side of the room now, I started building bridges to span this gap. We need another one of these, it's on order. They only had one in the store. But after working on the micro-engineering trestle, it was nice to put together a kit where all the parts fitted the way they were supposed to. I've cast all the abutments and piers for this bridge, but I'm having to modify them because they didn't have anything that would fit. So I've taken pairs of abutments, glued them back to back, and I've got to clean them up to make piers. So anyway, that's the progress as of now. I will check in with you again tomorrow. Well, yesterday was another bridge day. I'm still waiting to get back to the scenery, but that doesn't seem to be happening just yet. The bridges on this layout just go on forever. Anyway, let me turn the camera around and I will show you where I'm at. This combination here, I got that installed. These were actually abutments that I glued in pairs back to back. The pink foam is just a placeholder because they only had one of these kits. The other one is on order. So there's that combination there. And then let me show you what else I've been up to. Here we are around the other side of the room. These two wooden bridges, I built the abutments. He has this weird bit on the end, so I had to make up something that would work, even though it's probably not very prototypical. And since this one was way too long, I added a pillar in the middle. These abutments I made by adding retaining wall castings to a wooden frame and just piecing them together. Fairly simple, but it took forever. I'm also about halfway through building this combination in here. I'm making them like these. So this morning I will finish that project, and then hopefully I will be able to get on with some scenery. Well, good morning again. Today is Tuesday, which means my visit is now halfway through. All the bridges are temporarily in place with track running over them, and we were able to run some trains on all routes last night. You'll see that some of the areas are masked off. That's because I sprayed all the mainline trackage. So I spray painted all the mainline trackage, and I've just started to make some progress on the scenery in this corner. So anyway, this is my next task. Hopefully I'll be left alone to work on some scenery more now. I'm going to start in this corner, and over the course of the next few days gradually work my way down, I'll probably go about as far as this set of bridges here, and then there's some other things he wants me to get on with for the last couple of days of my trip. Well, yesterday marked the halfway stage of my trip, and for the first time I was able to get some serious work done on some scenery. I'm working on this area about 7 feet by 2, and I've got about half of the plaster work done. I hope to get that finished today. Well, I'm now 2 days into this scene. All the plaster is done, and a lot of the sculpting mould has been put in. I ran out, I didn't mix enough yesterday. I still need to mix up one more batch. So once that is done, I can then move into the next area. Of course, this area here is going to be just about impossible to make it look right. I'm just going to have to do the best I can. I'm going to cut some greenery or some trees from another piece of backdrop and put it in here, and then I will just blend it into the other kind of rock which is behind this paper here, or masked off, so we can paint the track. Anyway, I'm going to turn the camera off and I'm going to get busy, so I will check in with you again tomorrow. It's now Saturday morning. I put in 15 hours yesterday and I got a lot done all the way down to the bridge. Let me just pan around the area that I'm working on, from that corner of the room all the way down this wall, around the corner, and then I was hoping to get to this corner here where the tunnels go in. Total distance of about 40 feet. Unfortunately, I only have 4 more days left before I have to fly out. I was hoping to get this entire area completely finished, and I'm not going to make it. Unfortunately, the guy had me spend the first 7 days on working on bridges. It was halfway through my trip by the time I managed to get into the scenery. I had to extend the backdrop down here yesterday. I cut some trees off a spare backdrop and glued them on in 2 layers. Otherwise the masonite would have shown through underneath the existing backdrop. The trees I found were nowhere near the same colour, but they're better than nothing. Anyway, that's enough talking. I need to get back to work, so I'll check in with you again later. Well, it is now Saturday morning. I only have 3 days left before I have to fly home. Yesterday I got about the last 10 feet of rock work in. Including this last dry canyon. I tested everything. At this corner I had to redo it from about here to here, a couple of feet, because there was insufficient clearance on the track. Also yesterday I got all the initial painting coats on. I wanted to get the wash on last night so that it could dry overnight and I can paint it again today. I have to put the gold dry brushing and then various other colours on this end, and then the Colorado sandstone on the rest of it. So I'm going to turn the camera off and I will check in with you again tomorrow. Welcome back. I have finished the painting of these rocks all the way along. Yeah, I know all this sandstone is really bland, but that's what the customer asked for. If we look at the prototype pictures, there really isn't a great deal of colour variation. Just some shadow and some highlights, and that's about it. I've also got all the ground cover in this area here, and I've ballasted the main lines through it so that I can reinstall the trestle, get the trees on. Obviously that had to be done before I could put the trees and the trestle in front of it, because that would be blocking access. Normally I wouldn't try to ballast and do ground cover in the same area on the same day, but I really didn't have a lot of choice. There are a couple of areas where it looks like the weed killing train is overdue. Down here for example, some more there, and through this cutting I managed to spill. Next thing I've got to do is get the trees in and then reinstall the trestle. Well, good morning again. It is the last working day of the trip and I have got this area put back together and just about complete apart from small details. Of course one can keep doing small details forever, but I got the trees in, I got the bridges in this area weathered and permanently installed, and the track hooked up again. Today I'm just going to be working on a few little tasks, and then about lunchtime I'm going to have to start helping them pack up. Anyway, today I'm just going to be ballasting the track in the yard. So I'm going to turn the camera off and I will check in with you again later. Well, most of today was spent cleaning up, packing up and loading all the excess tools into the trailer for the return trip. However, I did manage to get the yard ballasted, so I'm going to be signing off here until November. I will see you again when I get back. Bye for now.